Good morning everyone, I'm JD and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to subject you to yet another watch review. I know you've seen thousands of watch reviews, but this watch review is the best watch review, I gotta tell you. Okay, let's get started with this watch review. But the most important part of the watch review is not the watch, it's this cup of coffee. It's early in the morning and I need to have this cup of coffee in order to successfully review this very, very good looking diver. So I'm going to have a sip right now, and just so you know that I'm having a sip of the coffee, I'll make some noise as I'm sipping it. Here we go. There we go. That's my sip of coffee. Now let's get started. Okay, what is this gorgeous, gorgeous dive watch? This is a Pagani design diver. It's the PD1651. PD1651 diver, purchased on AliExpress. I'm going to go through this watch from the outside in, starting with the bezel. So this bezel is a ceramic bezel. It's a 60-click bezel, and it actually has a very, very smooth action. It's a little light, but it's not so light as you would worry about it getting hit and moving. Also, the bezel doesn't have a lot of kickback, so when you put it in position here, you don't see a lot of kickback. It'll stay where it's supposed to be, and it's actually very, very well aligned with the top marker. It's a gray bezel. It's charcoal, gray charcoal, and it's raised numbering. These numbers are a little bit sharp on the edges, but you're not going to be touching them anyway. And you know they're there, which is good. Now, if you can read Braille, you can probably just close your eyes, touch a number, and know what it is. So why don't you practice that while you're diving? So that's the bezel. There's not a lot of play in the bezel. If I push the bezel back and forth like this, I don't feel a lot of play in that bezel. Just a little tiny bit allowing it to work well. And the bezel actually has a very, very good grip on it. So there's knurling on the side of the bezel that looks very, very well machined. And if I put my fingernail under here and I try to lift up on the bezel, there's no movement at all. So it's a 60-click bezel. Usually 60-click bezels aren't as accurate on watches when you move them into position, and they usually have a little bit of kickback. And once this is in place, I don't feel any kickback at all. It gets into place and it kicks back into its position, but there's no real kickback on the bezel. So I really, really like the action on this bezel. It feels nice to move around. So if you sit on your couch with your 3-year-old, however, that 3-year-old will start spinning this bezel until the small ball and spring on the bezel that creates that friction wears out, and your bezel will just spin around like crazy. This has happened to me in the past, thanks to my son Pete. Anyway, I think Tom did it as well. Anyway, blame them for ruining the spin on my Seiko. So good grip on the bezel, excellent bezel, no issues there at all. And it's a ceramic bezel, so very, very nice. So the case now, it's stainless steel, so it's all stainless steel case. It's got brushing on the top here, so the finish is a brushing on the top here, and the sides are clean. So it's a clean finish on the side, or mirrored finish on the side, right up to the crown protector, and the crown protector is also mirrored finish. The crown itself is stainless steel, and it's a screw down crown, and it works quite well. I'll try that out a little later. So as this top of the case here transitions into where the strap is, it still is brushed on the top as it transitions into the links, the outer links of the strap here. So that's a really nice style it has. And it's a solid case. I think the whole watch itself weighs in around 150 grams. And it's anyway, the case is a case, so there's no issue with the case. It feels like it's got some huff to it, or heft to it. It's a 40 millimeter case across here. I think if I measured it across here, it would be a little wider, but 40 millimeter case across here, and it's around 13 millimeters thick. So another thing I noticed too is on this watch is if I look at the bezel, I really can't see the crystal popping up here, which is really a really nice thing. I don't like the crystals that are raised higher than the bezel on the watch, so the case is very, very well designed. And the crystal itself, before I get into some detail here, the crystal is a sapphire crystal, so you wouldn't be expecting a sapphire crystal in a watch of this value. And as well, on the crystal, they have a very workable Cyclops. You can actually see the date in the Cyclops window. Currently, it says 18. It might be wrong. I'll have to check the date today. I woke up. I don't profess to understand the date when I wake up every morning. I just ask my wife. That's how I find out what the date is. And then she says, "Look at the calendar. Look at the calendar." Anyway, so that's the Cyclops. It's very, very nice. So the case, it's got a bit of heft to it, but it's not too thick. I've seen other dive watches that have a very, very thick case, and this is reasonable here, about 13 millimeter case. So very nice case. Now moving into the strap itself. If I forget anything, I'll let you know. So these lugs though are brushed here, and they're brushed all the way up to the edge, which is nice. The case, there's no brushing here. There's a mirrored finish on the top here, but that's not of any consequence. So the strap itself, it's a solid stainless steel strap. As you can see, it's got a brush finished on either side, and it's got a mirrored finish in the center. I actually like this look. Now this mirrored finish in the center may scratch a bit in the future, but that scratch is very easy to take out. If you've got a Dremel tool and some paste, you can completely remove the scratches from watches. I love the transition between the end lugs here and the first outer lugs of the straps, or the first outer links of the strap. It's really smooth. You don't see any line bump up or anything, and it's matching the end of the lugs perfectly. So they've taken some time to manufacture this to an amazing spec. Now the mirrored finish will leave fingerprints, as you can see. It'll leave some fingerprints there, but it's very easy to polish those fingerprints out. No issue there at all. What else can I say about the strap? The pins. So the links are connected with screw-down pins, or screw-in pins. I did size this watch, and they're very easy to take out. No issue with the screw-in pins at all. And there's a couple on this side. I think there was 3 on this side, and there were 3 on this side, and I removed 2 and 1, I think, to size the watch. I do have a big wrist, but it comes with enough links here so you can size it perfectly. So the links aren't super thick, and they're a little bit stiff right now, so I'm assuming that they'll work themselves in over time, but it doesn't really cause any problem wearing this watch if with the links a bit stiff here. It's not an issue at all. So, and it does feel like quality. It does. It's not super high end because of the links being a bit stiff, and maybe if you put a little oil in there, that would loosen up those links a bit. But I think over time that will fix itself. The other thing I really like about this is there's solid end links here. I can't stand the end links with the little wing on the side, and they're kind of cheap, and over time they move out of position on the with respect to the lugs. So I can't stand that. So I never buy a watch with the end links that aren't solid. So it looks as though there's an opening there too, so it's very easy to remove the pins on this. So that's that. Anyway, very nice stainless steel. And as I get to the clasp, this clasp is a quality clasp. I was super impressed by this clasp. Let me grab a rag here and just clean this off a bit, shine it up a bit for you. So this clasp here, it looks as though it's machined. And it's got a system here. I believe it's another watch company invented this system, but this clasp on the end here is sprung. So if I just take this here and move this, there's ever so slightly a spring action here on this, and what that spring action does is allow the clasp to to simply hook onto this hook here without a lot of problem. I've seen other clasps that are snap in like that rely on the bend of the metal to actually do that, but this is a really nice feature here to have this kind of a spring action on the hook here. So you can size the clasp. There's inner lugs here, or inner pins, I guess, indents, to move this back and forth. But as you can see, the preference here was not to dirty the side of the clasp up with pins sticking out, like pinholes for adjustment sticking out. There is a diver extension on this watch, I guess, but I haven't been able to oh, there it is. There's the diver extension. I was able to do it. So it's got a really nice little diver extension if you're wearing a 1/4-inch neoprene dive suit. I do scuba dive, now he's certified. You can pop that out, and perhaps gives you enough width or enough circumference on this watch strap to get it over the top of your dive suit. So you do wear your watch over the top of your neoprene sleeve. So that just snaps out. You just go like this and push it like that, and then it snaps back in to size your watch. I don't think it's an easy job to snap it back in, but let me see if I can do this, and if I can't, I'm just going to carry on. See, no, I can't do that right now. I'll carry on. So it's got that. So when I close this strap here, I just close it like this, and you press down, and this just bumps up a bit like that. And then there's a clasp, a safety clasp goes over the top like that, and you press that down. And it all feels really solid, and I'm positive that's machined on the inside. So I just love the way that feels, looks. It's thick, it has heft. I don't believe there's a lot of play in it as well. There's a little tiny bit of play, but not a lot. So if I look at it like that, I can see a little tiny bit of play as I shake it from side to side, but it's not a lot of play. It does leave a lot of fingerprints. The shiny part leaves a lot of fingerprints. So if you're like me and you like things that shine, you're going to have to shine it up a lot. It also has the Pagani design name on the back of the clasp, which is a nice touch. It's engraved back there. And I'm sure over time, with hitting my wrist on the ground, I'll end up having to shine that up again with my Dremel tool and some paste. So I've done that quite a few times. It's not that difficult if you want your watch to look brand new. So that action works really well on this. So you just snap it like this, and then you close it down like that. So that is the clasp as we know it. And one other thing about this strap, as it goes into the lugs, it's a 20 millimeter length here for the pins. So if you're going to order a leather strap for this, like I guess a brown leather strap with white stitching would look really classy on this, you're going to have to make sure it's a 20 millimeter width here for this here. So it's not an issue. That's very common. And I think this goes down, it goes from 20 millimeters down to 16 as it narrows out. So that is the strap of the Pagani design diver, the PD 1651. Now, one more thing about the case. It says it's got a sapphire glass viewing window in the back. It's a nice screw down case, which is a typical of a dive watch, but it's got a nice viewing window in the back. In diving, I would never dive, I'd casually swim with this, but I would never dive with a watch that has a viewing window. I don't think you can trust that window is not going to crack, pop in, pop out, whatever. As you go into in depth, as you dive down, actually there's more pressure pushing it in, so it's not as much of a worry about the thing popping out as it is just leaking. So, but I don't trust these windows for actual diving. And I'll get into the movement for a second, but let's talk about the face for a second here. So the face on this diver is highly detailed, and it's a quality face, I'd say. It's a typical dive face seen on a lot of medium to high, very high-end diver watches. I won't mention any brands, but you probably know what I'm talking about. On the face, you have a logo. Let me grab my famous watchmaker's tweezers to point at stuff. So you have the logo on the face right here. Then you have Pagani Design written underneath that logo, and something else written under the Pagani Design that I don't want to mention for obvious reasons. It says automatic on the bottom, and it is water resistant to 100 meters. So it's all marked on the face nicely. There's a nice blue, ocean blue to black transition on the face as well that stands out. It's you can sort of see it there. But it's really nice. This transition gives it kind of an extra touch, and it works really well with the charcoal styled bezel here and the black numbering. The whole thing is very well styled, and the face also has a really nice set of hands. It's got a Mercedes hand, which is nice, and the pep here is a white pep on the seconds hand, and the minute hand is just a normal minute hand, I guess a sword minute hand. And all in all, the face is a very pleasing looking face, and up close, all the indices here are highly detailed. There's no issue with the painting of the information on this face. It's very, very well done. And what else can I say about this face? And it has an opening here for the date on the face, and This is an NH35 movement, and which allows that date to be displayed, so the opening is there on the face. Plus, as I may have mentioned before, it's got a really nice and usable Cyclops window. There's a little bit of glare here, so it's hard to see, but that says 18 on it, so that's a very nice Cyclops window. No arguments about that. It looks nice, gives it kind of an added touch. The Cyclops window does raise it up a little bit from the edge, as you can see, but not a lot. It's not bulging out significantly. So if I flip this around, that's all I've got to say about the face. I think we'll do a little close-up on this later on. If I flip this around, I see that screw-down case back with the viewing window, and inside of this is the NH35A as an Alpha Seiko-made movement. So it's a workhorse movement. If you had to replace this movement, you'd be probably paying around $30 US to replace this. So if you've got any real issues with this movement and you're not a watchmaker, just recommend buying another movement and throwing it in. So that's what I would do if I had this. So this is a movement that's very common in a lot of the, I guess, medium end watches out there, but it's a reliable movement. The screw down crown has a pretty good feel. I'd say that you've got to push it in. There's a little bit of a bounce here on the crown, but you've got to push it in a bit to make sure that the threads catch when you're screwing it in. So there we go, it's screwed in. So once you get the hang of it, it's not that bad a problem. On your first turn, your first click on this, you'll feel a little tiny click on this. Let me see if I can, there's that click. And if you actually rotate the crown counterclockwise, you'll see the date changing here. So that's how you change the date on it, and it's smooth action. And then if you pull one more click like so, then you're going to be able to change the time on the watch. So there we go, that's the time changing. And I'll just leave it here. And it's also hacking, which means when you pull this out, there's a brake applied to the balance inside of the movement that stops the balance from ticking, which stops the watch and stops the second hand, obviously. So that's a hacking movement, and if you press it in again like that, you're in a position to be able to hand wind that movement without relying on the rotor. So when you wake up first thing in the morning and you want to have your really good cup of coffee, there it is there. Oh yeah, I can't wait to have a sip of that. It's going to get cold. And you're waiting for your cup of coffee and you want your watch to be fully powered. If you give this 20 turns without a problem, you're going to get this thing powered up nicely, and you're probably going to take that mainspring and get it to at least 50 to 60% of its power by doing that. And I do that in the morning with my watches. A lot of them I just wear to bed, and they because I roll around like Barney Rubble, by the time the morning hits, the watch is fully powered by the rotor itself. So there, that's it, and I just screw that in like this and see how good. Yeah, that worked, no problem at all. The threads are catching. Make sure you get used to that, because you don't want to strip the threads in the tube. Otherwise you'll have to replace the tube in the watch, which is a watchmaker's job. So you got to be able to do that quite comfortably. So practice this on another watch maybe. And there's some knurling on the edges here that give you a pretty good grip on this. There's no problem at all gripping it. And you've got the Pagani design logo on the crown as well, which is a nice touch. So all in all, let's just put this watch on my wrist. One more thing is the NH35A beats at 21,600 beats per hour. So it's not a super high beat like a 28.6 or a 26.8 beat, but it's high enough. Its accuracy, I believe, is plus or minus, I think it was minus 10 to plus 15 seconds a day. You could probably regulate this to plus or minus 5 seconds a day if you're really careful with it. I'm hearing that if you set this to plus 5 seconds a day, then it retains its accuracy a little bit better. So that's just a hint that I read online. But as a watchmaker, that's not too bad. That kind of accuracy is very acceptable. So let me just fold this diver extension in right now. I see there's a little gap here. This gap for the diver extension is made to hook up here with this with this screw down or screw in link. So I just have to rotate that inward like that until the link hits it, and then you just push down and that should snap in. Let me see if I can do that. There we go. So that's the diver extension snap back in place. So let me just put this watch on my wrist and see what this looks like. Just snap that down and then cover that. And of course I got to shine this because I may have left a fingerprint or two on here. So there we go. Look at that. Oh my God, it's like brand new. Sorry, it's a bit upside down. It's my camera position that I have, but there you go. Maybe I could just put it on my other wrist and have a look at it, right? So this is the watch on the wrist. It doesn't look too big or too small. It's a perfect, the 40 is a perfect size for my wrist. I actually don't like the big bulky watches. I've got a few of those and they look kind of stupid. They're huge, so the feel of it is no good. Now the only thing I can say that might be, it's not even a negative, I guess, a comment, I guess. The edges here are a little bit sharp here, but you don't feel them when you're wearing the watch. And the edges on the strap are a little sharp, but you don't feel them when you're wearing the watch either. And the clasp here, the edges on the strap here are a little sharp as well. So you could actually probably get a Dremel tool and then just smoothen out the edges. But I'd practice on another stainless steel watch before you ruin this watch first, right? So we just take this off, and I'm going to see if I can put that on my other wrist so it's facing in the right direction, even though I am left-handed, but I don't know a lot of people that wear watches this way. But backwards, there we go. There it is backwards. So I can't reach my coffee right now. That's the only problem about this. But I know people that will buy a left-handed watch so that the lug or the crown actually doesn't stick into their hand, in the back of their hand. So this is the watch here. It's a thing of beauty. I'm just going to go do a close-up on this watch right now, and we can have a look at it from up close. So there's a bit of reflection here up close, but that's not too bad. So there's the face, and as you can see, there's a very nice detail on this face, and the bezel up close, no problems there. It does leave a lot of fingerprints though, with the shiny parts, so be prepared to fix that. There's a nice shot there. You can see underneath the Cyclops with the date window showing, and the automatic water-resistant 10-bar slash on 100 meters. And as you can see, this is a very, very nice quality on this watch. Oh, there's another fingerprint. I got to remove that one before the FBI calls me up and says, "Hey, are you the guy that had that extra coffee at that coffee place and didn't pay for it?" And there's the NH35 movement, and as you can see, it's just ticking away. And it's got an anti-shock jewel in the front, jewel configuration on the front. Those things are pretty easy to take off and clean and put back on again. And there's the rotor. The rotor just says NH35A on it and not much more. It's a very simple rotor. It does work in both directions, so as you move the watch it will wind in both directions. So, and the end clasps are there, and there's the Pagani design logo. Let me wipe that clean again. There's a Pagani design logo on the back of it. It's probably already attracting some there it is. Put some fingerprints on there. As you can see, these a lot of people prefer the non-mirrored finish on the stainless steel. I actually like it, but it does require you to clean it off every now and then, or otherwise it's fingerprint city for you. So, and there's the crown and the solid end links in there, and there you go. That's a beautiful, beautiful piece. I'm going to angle this a little bit so you can see it. There we go. I'm not sure if I can do a micro close-up. Maybe I'll do that. All right, there's a very close and a very beautiful shot of the watch moving, and you can see a bit of a jitter in the second hand, and that's just the NH35A movement at 21,600 beats per hour, and it just will do that. It's not a clean sweep hand because of it, the actual frequency of the movement, but it's still very nice. And you can see the Cyclops and the date below for the date window, and you can see the lettering on this watch is exceptional. I see no issue with this, even close up to the hour, minute, and second hands. There's no real issue on this watch at all. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous watch. And one other note, on the very bottom of the face of the watch, it says Japan movement. So that's nice. It's a nice touch to have that in there. So I know you're wondering, hey JD, where did you get this watch and how much did you pay for it? Well, I bought this watch on AliExpress, and it cost me around $85 US for the watch with free shipping. That's $85 US. And in 85 bucks, you get the stainless steel case, you get the very nice sapphire crystal on it, you get a very, very usable Cyclops, you get an NH35A movement on it, you get stainless steel strap on it, you get a very, very high-end clasp on this watch that's really workable. You get a diver's extension on the clasp. You get a gorgeous face, very readable. You get a ceramic bezel, which is nice with raised numbering on that ceramic bezel. You get 60 clicks, but you get a very smooth 60 click movement with no back play on the watch. What a deal. This is an amazing deal for 85 bucks on AliExpress. Pagani Design have done an exceptional job to outsell their competition by building a watch that's, you know, this could easily be a $500 watch without a problem. And I just love it. It feels good. It looks good on my wrist. It's sized right. It's an exceptional watch. Now, I got to tell you, the only reason I was able to buy this watch is because my CFO allowed me to spend the 85 bucks and buy this from AliExpress, and that would be my wife. So you got to make sure that you prime your wife up first, prep her, grease the skids, as they say, to make sure that she's prepared when that thing arrives at your door and she goes, "Did you buy another watch?" And you go, "Really, it's not. It's like the taxes on a $300 watch." That's what it was. It was the taxes on a $300 watch. So it's really not a watch. It's just taxes. And they're giving you something for paying taxes. It's amazing. So I'd say go out there right now on AliExpress and buy one of these watches. It's probably the best diver at that price and even higher prices that I have in my collection. So thanks for watching my channel. And I think I might do another watch review in a little while, as long as the CFO allows me.